All Academy. Always with you.
Hello my dear students, welcome to this online video lecture on basic thermodynamics. So in a previous session we have discussed the other types of work transfer. So in this session we're going to discuss the very important topic of module 2, that is definition for the first law of thermodynamics. Then we all know that this first law of thermodynamics is also called as law of conservation of energy. We'll discuss why this first law of thermodynamics is called law of conservation of energy. Then along with that we'll discuss the Joule's experiment, which is very important to understand this first law of thermodynamics. Then at the last we're going to discuss the different forms of stored energy. So without wasting much time, let us begin with today's session. Now, as I said, so in this session we're going to discuss the very important topic, that is first law of thermodynamics. So we're going to discuss the very important topic, that is first law of thermodynamics. So during the study of first law of thermodynamics, means during the study in a thermodynamics study, we have considered the various forms of energies such as heat energy, work energy, internal energy, then the total energy, and the total internal energy. Individually we have considered and we have analyzed, but we have not made an attempt to relate them all together during the process. So we have not made an attempt to correlate these all energy during a process itself. And the first law of thermodynamics is a law which which provides the sound basis to understand or studying the relationship among the various forms of energy or the energy interaction. Okay, the first law is a law which helps us to analyze or understand the different energy interaction. Now let us study. You all know the simple definition of first law of thermodynamics, that is the energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but it can be converted from one form to another form. Means the whatever energy is there, it will be converted from one form to another useful form. This is a simple definition of first law of thermodynamics. And this first law of thermodynamics, which is also known as law of conservation energy or the conservation energy principle, law of conservation of energy or conservation energy principle. It is also called as both. Sometimes they may ask the definition of write the definition, what is the definition for law of conservation of energy, or they may ask the first law of thermodynamics. Now let us understand this first law of thermodynamics. As I said, so it is the involvement of conversion of energy from one form to another form. So let us understand this one by taking a simple example so that it will be very much easy to understand. Let us consider a system in which a heat will enter into the system, and after this system will give out some useful work. Means whatever the heat enter into the system, that is converted into some useful work. Similarly, in another system, if the work is done on the system, so you may get a decrease or increase in the temperature. Means some amount of heat will be given out. So this is what the first law of thermodynamics. So there is no destruction of energy. So there will be conversion of energy from one form to another form. As in this case, the heat energy is getting converted into work energy, and in this condition the work energy is getting converted into heat energy. So similarly other forms of energies are converted based on their application. So this is a first law of thermodynamics. Now as I said, so this first law of thermodynamics is also called as law of conservation of energy principle. But why this first law of thermodynamics is called law of conservation of energy principle? So let us study this one by taking a simple example. So let us consider a small stone of mass m. So let us consider a small stone of mass m as shown in this figure, which is placed at a height h, from the surface, from the lower surface. Okay, this is a lower surface. From this at height h this stone is placed. Now we all know that this stone, so whatever the stone which a mass of m which is placed at height h, will possess a certain amount of potential energy which is given by the equation mgh, where m is a mass of this stone or object, g is a gravitational constant, and h is a height from which it is placed. So this is a potential energy, means this mass or this object will have certain amount of potential energy which is given in the form of mgh. When I push this stone to downwards, or when the stone is made to fall down, the part of potential energy is getting converted into useful kinetic energy, or it is getting converted into kinetic energy. Means when it is start to fall from this end, the potential energy this object will be having, it is getting converted into kinetic energy. It means that the decrease in the potential energy is exactly equal to the increase in the kinetic energy. Okay, so hope you got now. Means the whatever potential energy is there, so that is getting converted, so when this stone is made to fall. Now if I assume at h by 2 means at half of the height, so the stone will be at this position. So this stone will have a equal quantity or the equal magnitude of potential energy as well as the kinetic energy. Both potential energy and kinetic energy will have a same magnitude at h by 2. Now this example confirms the principle of conservation of energy, that is conversion of energy. So this, by taking this example, it tells us the whatever energy of the stone is there, it is getting converted into other form of energy. So this transformation of potential energy to kinetic energy means whatever the stone will have, that is transfers from potential energy to kinetic energy. This is nothing but the first law of thermodynamics, where this application or this principle is used. Means to convert work to heat, so there is a conversion process. So similarly, by comparing this example, we can say there is a pure conversion of energy. So this is a reason this first law is also called as law of conservation of energy. This is a reason why this first law is also called as law of conservation of energy. So hope now you got a clear picture why we call the first law of thermodynamics. Means there is involvement of conversion of energy. That is a reason the first law is also called as law of conservation of energy. Now let us move to the one more very important topic whenever we discuss the first law of thermodynamics, that is Joule's experiment. So Joule's experiment is a very important topic. So when we discuss the first law of thermodynamics, so this has to be clearly understood. Okay. Now J.P. Joule was the first person. So J.P. Joule was the first person to conduct an experiment and establishes the relation between the work and the heat. So J.P. Joule was the first person to conduct the experiment and to get the relation or to establish the relation between the work as well as the heat. And these experiments are called Joule's experiment. These experiments are called Joule's experiment. Now Joule has conducted the experiments for both cyclic as well as non-cyclic process, because the thermodynamic system will be consisting of both cyclic and non-cyclic process. So same thing he has done. Say on same basis he has conducted the experiment on both cyclic as well as non-cyclic process. So let us understand these Joule's experiment for cyclic and non-cyclic process in details. Now the first one is a Joule's experiment for the cyclic process, non-cyclic process. Now let us consider a container which is completely adiabatic insulated, and it consists of some amount of water which is placed inside this container, and to measure this temperature there is a thermometer which is placed at some position, and in this one the T1 is considered as a surrounding temperature, whereas Okay, and the pedal wheel arrangement is utilized to do some work on the water. Now when I use the stirrer, the work is done by the pedal on the water. Now during this one, the water will start to move in a random manner. Due to that random manner, so we observe the change in the energies in the water particle. Due to that change in the energies, so there is a increase in the temperature. So that is T2. So that is T2. So that is change in the energy, that is T2 will get it. Now here the change is observed by the work transfer by using the pedal wheel. Now let us consider similarly the same setup. Instead of pedal wheel arrangement, I will take a heat supply. Means I will supply the heat as you are observing here. So when I supply the heat, even in this condition is also the water get heated and there is a increase in the temperature. So now you got clear. In the first condition, the change is brought, means the change in the system is brought due to the work interaction, and here in the second case, the change is brought due to the heat interaction. So this is how Joule has conducted the experiment and has correlated the work and heat interaction for a non-cyclic process. Now if I remove this adiabatic insulation, again the temperature will come to the surrounding temperature. Okay, so to have that temperature, to know the variation in the temperature, he has made a complete cylinder as a insulated. Now similarly, the Joule has also conducted the same experiment for cyclic process. So let us study this cyclic process. The same experiment he has used, but instead of a manual wearer, he has used a weight and pulley arrangement to operate this pedal wheel. Again the same insulation is there. So when this weight is raised or lowered, the pedal wheel will start to rotate. Due to this rotation, the water particles will get some energies. So random movement, due to the water particular random movement, so they will get some energies. So due to that one, so there is a change in the temperature is observed. Now this can be given in a generalized plot. So from when system at initial condition, let us assume the system is at state 1. When work is done on this fluid, so the system changes to state 2. Now after, if I remove this insulation, as I already said, this is a adiabatic insulated container. If I remove this insulation, again this fluid particle will attain the room temperature. Means you can see this, the heat interaction, the heat is coming out. So then again it will come back to its original position. Now this is how the Joule has concluded his experiment, that the summation or the sum of work done in a cycle is directly proportional to sum of heat interaction in the cycle. So he has concluded with an equation, that is sum of or summation of work done in a cycle is directly proportional to summation of heat interaction in the cycle. Now let us study one more very important topic, the first law for closed system undergoing a cycle. Now what is this one? So if a system execute a cycle transforming work and through its boundary, when the net work transfer is equal to the net heat transfer. Now this is a simple definition for the first law for a closed system undergoing a cycle. Now this can be given as I already for a cyclic process, based on the Joule's experiment, it is a summation of work interaction in a cycle is equals to J into summation of heat interaction in a cycle. Now where J is a Joule's experiment constant, J is a Joule's constant, J is a Joule's experiment constant. So why we have you consider this Joule's experiment constant? To remove the direction proportionality, so we need to use any one constant. So we have used the Joule's constant to remove this directional proportionality. Now this in the cyclic form, So the same equation can be written by using a cyclic integral symbol. So this is a cyclic integral symbol. So that is a cyclic integral of dw is equals to j into cyclic integral of dq. So this is in a cyclic by using a cyclic integral symbol. Okay, and the symbol is, we have already discussed in the previous session. This symbol is denotes the cyclic integral for a closed path. Now let us study one more very important, that is first law for a closed system undergoing a change of state. Undergoing change of state. In the previous one we have studied for a cycle. Now here we need to study for a change of state. Now let us assume a system which is in which the heat is interacted, and similarly work will come out. When you add some quantity of heat, so it will give some amount of work. Now we all know that each and every system will have its own some amount of energy. A system that undergoes a change of state where both work and heat are involved, the net energy transfer get accumulated or stored in the system. Means, so whenever the system, we all know that the system will have some quantity of energy. So when the heat is added to the system and some amount of work is done, so whatever the energy in initial energy or the internal the energy, whatever it will be having, so that will get changed. So that is nothing but the change in the internal energy or change in the stored energy. Stored energy means it will possess some amount of energy. So the system will have some quantity of energy, so before heat and work interaction. Now the net stored energy, so that energy is called stored energy. Okay, the net stored energy in the system will be Q minus W. As I said, when you add some quantity of heat, it will give out some amount of work. So that will be equals to Q minus W. This stored energy is neither heat nor work, because heat is added and work is done. So whatever stored energy is there, it is neither heat energy or nor energy. It is called, very important term, it is called change in the stored energy. It is called change in the stored energy. Okay, so which is represented by the letter, that is delta E, which is represented by delta E. Now this delta E is a change in the stored energy, because the fact is before the heat interaction, the system, as I said, the system will have a certain amount of energy which is already stored in the system. So when there is an interaction of heat, so due to that one, so this whatever energy is there, so that may get changed, that may increase or that may be decreased. So that we need to identify. So that is nothing but the change in the stored energy. Change in the stored energy. Stored energy is different. Change in the stored energy is different. Stored energy is a energy within the system before any work or heat interaction. Now change in the stored energy is the energy or the quantity after the work and heat interaction to the system. Please note that many times the student will get confused between the stored energy and the change in the stored energy. Once again I will tell you, stored energy is the energy possessed by the system or any object or any system before any work and heat interaction. And change in the stored energy is the energy possessed or energy in the system when we observe that after the heat and work interaction. So please note that this is a very simple difference between the stored energy and the change in the stored energy. The next one is, so we have studied now energy, that is stored energy we have discussed. Now energy as a property of a system, that we need to consider. Now let us, for this one, let us consider a simple PV diagram, means the gas plotted on a PV plot. Okay, PV plot, pressure and volume graph. Now for a path, when so initially this gas or this system is at condition 1 and it travels to state 2, it changes to state 2 using a path A, Then the heat added the or heat interaction in this path while traveling in this path is given by Q is equals to WA plus delta EA, where QA is a heat interaction in the path during the path A when the system changes from 1 to 2 from path A, and work WA is a work interaction when system changes from 1 to 2 by using a path A. Now delta EA is the change in the stored energy when system changes from state 1 to state 2 using a path A. Now similarly if the system comes back to its initial position, that is from state 2 to state 1, so then QB is the heat interaction when the system comes back to its initial position using a path B, and WB is a work interaction when the system is coming or when system came back to its initial state from path B, and delta EB is a change in the stored energy when the system travels from path B. Now the process A and B, means this both A and B together forms the cycle. As it is coming from state 1 to state 2, again it will come back to its initial state. So this completes the one cycle. Now this can be written in the cyclic form, that is the summation of heat interaction will be equals to summation of work in the cycle. So WA plus WB will be equals to QA plus QB. So if I just interchange it, so it is WA minus QA will be equals to WB minus QB. From these equation I can get WA minus QB. So WA minus QB will be nothing but EA. So after this simplifying by comparing these two equation and this equation, I can write delta EA will be equals to delta EB minus delta EB, means the change in the stored energy in a path A will be equals to negative quantity of a change in the internal energy from path B. Similarly, if the same system changes its path from using another system, that is third, by using the third path, if it takes with some other different path, so then I can write a similar equation, that is delta EA will be equals to minus delta EC. So when it is coming back to its initial position, means same delta EC will get it. So the same change in the internal energy is observed. So by comparing these two equations, I can write that EB, that is change in the stored energy from path B, is equals to change in the stored energy from path C. From this we can say that energy is a property of a system. From this concept we can say that the energy is a property of a system. The next very important topic is the different forms of stored energy. Now we already know that the energy E refers to the total energy stored in the system, and delta E is the change in the stored energy. Now these stored energies are classified into two types. One is a macroscopic energy mode and another one is a microscopic energy mode. So there are two types of energies. One is macroscopic and another one is a microscopic energy mode. So let us study these two different modes of energies in details. The first one is a macroscopic energy mode. So for this one we have a simple figure. So you can see this one. So this is in the examination also they have asked a couple of times with a neat sketch explain macroscopic and microscopic energy mode. Now in the macroscopic energy forms, it includes the macroscopic kinetic and potentials of a potential energy of a system. Please note that in a macroscopic stored energy, it involves the macroscopic kinetic and potential energy of a system. Now let us say that the fluid mass under consideration of any may contain a number of molecules. We know that the fluid may contain n number of molecules. Now the average velocity of a fluid mass considered macroscopically. So for individually it becomes very difficult to identify the velocities of each fluid particle. So we consider the average velocity. So by considering the macroscopically, okay, we consider the average velocity. Has an average center of mass velocity, means the center of mass velocity has an average center of mass, and because of that we'll have a same average velocity. Now when the fluid is in a motion, so the macroscopic kinetic energy is given by, when the fluid is in a motion, the kinetic energy is given by E is equals to mv square by 2 or half mv square, where m is a mass of a fluid and v is an average velocity. Okay, so this is how we will calculate the macroscopic energy mode. Once again, macroscopic energy includes the macroscopic forms of kinetic and potential energy. Now the potential energy in a macroscopic form is given by using a equation m into g into z, where z is a datum head, and g is a gravitational constant, and m is a mass of a fluid at that particular time or instant. So this is a macroscopic energy mode. Now the next one is a very important, that is a microscopic energy mode or micro energy mode. So energy stored in a molecular, atomic or subatomic level are called microscopic energy. So please note that in the previous condition we have studied average velocities, and here for individual molecules, atoms or subatomic level, whatever energy we consider, so that is a macroscopic energy, and it is called as internal energy. It is also called as an internal energy. It is denoted by letter U. Now we know that, so the matter is composed of molecules. So they are in a random thermal motion. So means obviously the molecules will be moving, or gases will be moving in a random manner with an average velocity. So that we consider with an average velocity. Now Vm we consider that is Vm, molecules which are constantly moving with the velocity Vm. So these molecules collides with each other, or they will collide within a container continuously or constantly. Now this causes the random vibrations, very important. This causes the random vibration or rotation of molecules. Further, they may have a translation, a kinetic energy or rotational energy, vibrational energy, electrical energy, or chemical or nuclear energy. Means whenever these molecules they get collides with each other, or they will collides with a surrounding container, so they will get which will causes the rotation or vibration of molecules. Now this microscopic energy is represented by E. Okay, it is represented by small e. Okay, in other words, the internal energy of molecules, that is E, can be written as always, as I said. So due to this molecular random momentum, so the rotation and vibration causes the translation or rotational, vibrational, electrical, chemical energies. So this can be the total internal energy in a microscopic mode can be given as E is equals to E translational, E rotational, energy in generated with the vibration, energy in by chemical, energy by electrical, or energy by nucleation. So all together we'll have to consider, because micro means, so we need to consider each and every molecules. So each and every molecule means there will be change in the energies. Now if there are n number of molecules, then the total internal energy can be represented by using an equation U is equals to NE. So that is U is equals to NE is a total energy or the total microscopic energy. So hope in this session whatever the concepts we have discussed, it is clear with you. So first we have discussed the first law of thermodynamics. Then why this first law of thermodynamics is called law of conservation of energy, we have discussed. Then we have discussed the Joule's experiment for both cyclic and non-cyclic process. Then again we have discussed the stored energy. Then again the energy as a property of system. Then we have studied microscopic and macroscopic energy. Macro means it will possess the kinetic and potential energies, and in a micro means so it will have individual atoms. The energies of individual atoms will be considered. And if you're having any doubts in this session, whatever we have discussed, please comment it in a comment box and we'll try to clarify your doubts.
Click on subscribe button and press the bell icon to get updates from All Academy.